I remember from those final years with her, my mother would have known that she'd been deceived. She was failed not just by a rogue reporter. These failings not only let my mother down, they let the public down too.
The royal family concealed William's strange emotions in the early years after his mother's terrible death, making it hard to get any specifics. Other than the pictures from Princess Diana's burial, there are no interviews or pictures of William associated with her at that period. This seems odd, doesn't it? William refrained from speaking publicly about his sadness for a considerable amount of time. He has recently, however, spoken up and publicly expressed his feelings over those difficult times. Here are William's open admissions from a recent, infrequent interview over the death of his mother. William widened his fan base by being open about his emotions after Princess Diana's passing over 3 decades ago. He discussed the enormous effect her absence has had on his life with painful honesty, displaying a newfound understanding and candor about his sadness. Prince William said, "I am in a better place about it than I have been for a long time," his remarks bearing the weight of years of emotional turmoil. By making this admission, he provided an insight into how his grief developed, showing how it gradually moved from suffering and sadness to a more complex appreciation of his mother's lasting impact. Prince William walked the turbulent path of grief for over 20 years, the after-effects of his losses still there. But as time went on, he discovered comfort in being able to talk about Princess Diana with candor and clarity. He said, "Where I can talk about her more openly, talk about her more honestly, and I can remember her better and publicly talk about her better," his remarks reflecting the cathartic outpouring of long-suppressed feelings. The prince's path to recovery was not a straight line. It was dotted by periods of intense struggle and reflection. He said, "It has taken me almost 20 years to get to that stage, which is a testimonial to the persistent nature of sorrow and the difficulties involved in grieving a prominent individual in the world." Prince William shed light on the underlying contradiction of grieving in public by admitting the particular difficulties he had in handling sorrow in public. He bemoaned, "It is not like most people's grief because everyone else knows about it. Everyone knows the story, everyone knows her," highlighting the challenges that come with mourning under the always bright limelight. In the face of mounting public pressure and unrelenting scrutiny on his personal life, Prince William never wavered in his resolve to pay true tribute to his mother. "Most people who lose someone they love are in a different situation," he said, his words ringing with compassion for those who negotiate the emotional landscape of bereavement hidden from prying eyes. By recognizing the range of experiences with loss, he showed a deep sense of empathy and support for people whose tales are not spoken and whose sorrow is kept hidden. Prince William, 41, expressed a heartbreaking comment on the lasting effects of his mother's absence. The mood was laced with wistfulness and desire. Even though he gave the impression of being strong and resilient, he openly acknowledged the deep hole Princess Diana's loss had left, especially at periods of important anniversaries and happy family occasions. Prince William said, "I would have liked to have had her advice," his voice laced with a tangible feeling of longing for the maternal direction he had been denied for so long. By recognizing the invaluable contribution his mother may have made to his life, he shed light on the conflicting feelings of yearning for a relationship that would never completely materialize. As the prince considered the chances lost to show his mother the delights of his expanding family, his words took on an intensely personal meaning. With a feeling of regret for the moments lost to time, he reflected, "I would love her to have met Catherine and to have seen the children grow up." He revealed a moving reminder of the persistent heritage of love and grief that spans generations when he expressed his sorrow at the thought of his kids never getting to meet their grandma. Time had passed, but Prince William's life was still plagued by the ghost of Princess Diana's disappearance, which remained a source of constant shock and incredulity. He said, "I still feel shock inside of me." His remarks reverberated with an unadulterated anguish that transcended expectations. He challenged the idea that time alone could cure all wounds by facing the persistent nature of his anguish and providing a moving tribute to the tremendous effect of loss on the human spirit. Even though it has been 20 years since his mother passed away, Prince William's sadness remained intense. "You never get over it," he said, his words bearing the weight of reality that is all too often muffled by social norms. Nevertheless, Prince William found comfort in his continuing process of coming to terms with his loss, despite the suffering and desire. "You just have to learn how to deal with it," he said, his words laced with a subdued desire to work through the difficulties of loss. William said that despite his best efforts to seem tough in the early years after his loss, he was not. Prince William was left feeling lost and confused in a sea of confusing emotions after the first shock of Diana's death engulfed him in an oppressive numbness. His comments reverberated with the sheer intensity of his suffering as he described his first feelings. "I remember just feeling completely numb, disoriented, dizzy." Amidst his deep sorrow, he struggled to find answers and was plagued by the incessant question, "Why me?" that kept repeating in his head. Amid the terrible weight of loss, Prince William and his younger brother, Prince Harry, showed a touching demonstration of filial love as they walked stoically behind their mother's coffin, leaving the world waiting in suspense. Amid the sea of mourning that filled the streets, many of whom had formerly rejoiced in Diana's happy times, the young princes carried their sorrow with a serene dignity that concealed the turmoil that was bubbling within. As Prince William considered the lasting effects of that sad procession, he disclosed the inner struggle that came with making the difficult choice to publicly grieve their mother. "It wasn't an easy decision," he acknowledged, his remarks laden with the burden of obligation and duty that forced him to pay tribute to Diana in public. The princes were forced to assume the role of public mourning despite the very personal nature of their loss, juggling the conflicting demands of public and private suffering. Princess Diana and William had a heartfelt phone conversation earlier that day, and while her sudden death in Paris has received a lot of publicity, William remembers it as a bittersweet reminder of what may have been. Princess Diana attempted to bridge the gap between her boys and herself on that terrible morning by sending her heartfelt love and compassion over the distance. The New Yorker said that Prince William and Prince Harry were curled up in the peaceful arms of the Scottish estate Balmoral, with their large family members providing consolation. The young princes had their hearts set on the basic pleasures of youth, and they were filled with excitement and eagerness for the prospect of outdoor experiences. However, Diana's voice rang out above the commotion and laughing, expressing love and desire over the wide reaches of time and space. Mother and kid had a priceless kinship in that little instant, a glimpse of the tie that transcended physical distance and isolation. Unfortunately, the conversation was interrupted when the little princes were lured away from the comfort of their mother's voice by the attraction of outside play. In their youth, they said goodbye to Diana in a carefree manner, not realizing the importance of their last conversation or the seriousness of the situation. William said, his remarks laced with regret and grief, "If I'd known now what was going to happen, I wouldn't have been so blasé about it." He finds solace in the thought of that last phone conversation, which serves as a heartbreaking reminder of how short life is and how quickly time passes. Would you believe that when his mother passed away, William said he didn't know how to feel about himself? Prince William provided a unique window into his inner anguish after his mother's death in the HBO documentary Diana, Our Mother, highlighting the profound effect her tragedy had on his developing mind. William said, "There's nothing like it in the world," his voice quivering with the intensity of his feelings. William described the tragedy of Diana's dying as similar to a seismic upheaval, shattering the delicate veil of normality and throwing him into a world of chaos and bewilderment. "It's like an earthquake has just run through the house, through your life and everything." He was lost in a sea of contradictory feelings, his mind broken by the intensity of his sorrow, as he tried to make sense of the inexplicable loss. William said, "It took me a while for it to actually sink in," revealing the depth of his anguish in his comments. William struggled with the weight of his emotions in the days and weeks that followed Diana's death. His youthful heart was conflicted between the urge to mourn and the desire to seem composed. William's family provided him and Harry with steadfast support throughout the tumult of his bereavement, showing them unending love and sympathy. However, William's youth prevented him from really seeing the depth of what he had gone through. Thus, time did nothing to lessen the agony of his loss. William said, his voice laced with regret, "It was very difficult to communicate or understand your feelings being so small at that age. When he was young and naive, he had difficulty expressing the extent of his sadness and the incomprehensible intricacies of mourning." William was reminded of a terrible experience he had when he made a vow he would never be able to fulfill to Princess Diana. The complex relationships between titles and etiquette within the British royal family, as we all know, often carry a lot of weight and reflect not just history, but also the individual dynamics and aspirations of its members. Particularly with regard to her royal title, the fallout from Princess Diana's divorce from Prince Charles presented a challenging balancing act between custom and sentimentality. Prince Charles had a different opinion from Queen Elizabeth II, who was apparently happy for Princess Diana to keep her title of Her Royal Highness since she was the future king's mother. The Mirror has reported that Prince Charles would have liked Diana to be called only Diana, Princess of Wales, a distinction that would have ramifications for etiquette and protocol. Diana would not get the same degree of official acknowledgement under this system, therefore she would have to avoid customary bows from people and curtsy to other members of the royal family. In his book, A Royal Duty, Diana's devoted butler and confidant Paul Burrell provided moving insights into the emotional toll this choice placed on Diana. In a devastating disclosure, Burrell revealed a dialogue that transpired between Diana and her son, Prince William, when Diana's HRH title was revoked. A 14-year-old Prince William reportedly gave his assurance to Diana as she struggled with the consequences of her reduced status. "Don't worry, Mommy. I will give it back to you one day when I am king." The poignancy of William's promise echoed through Kensington Palace, serving as a reminder of the enduring bond between mother and son. But in between the comforting but heartbreaking words was the harsh fact that Diana's sudden death a year later would always keep William from keeping his promise. Diana was brought to tears by her son's sincere assurance, as Burrell stated, underscoring the promise's deep importance. The love and dedication that mother and son had for one another in that brief time, among the complications of royal procedure and public scrutiny, transcended the trappings of monarchy and provided a look into the very intimate bonds that characterized Diana's legacy. Sadly, Diana passed away before she could see her son take the throne and keep his word, leaving a legacy of unrealized hopes and unrealized potential. However, Diana's presence continued to live on in her boys' hearts even after she passed away, encouraging them to uphold her legacy of empathy, compassion, and selflessness. It was acknowledged by Prince William that he had wanted his mother to leave the United Kingdom before to the sad event. Princess Diana had a hard summer of 1997, burdened by the constant scrutiny from the media and yearning for a life free from the restraints of royal custom. When Diana found herself facing the harsh realities of public life under the glare of paparazzi cameras while on a family holiday in the south of France, she found comfort in her son, Prince William's, unflinching support and understanding. Diana shared with Arthur Edwards, the royal photographer, the devastating advice that her confidant and oldest son William had given her. She said, "William told me that I should leave England and go and live somewhere else," her words resounding with the unadulterated love and worry of a mother for her children. Diana saw a ray of hope in the possibility of fleeing to another country to escape the unrelenting scrutiny and condemnation she endured at home. Edwards, however, was left divided between his affection for Diana and his unwillingness to see her sent into exile after learning of William's counsel. He said, "I thought, I don't want to be the reason why she's going to live in exile," acknowledging the deep effect Diana's battle had on those closest to her. More details about Diana's intentions to leave the oppressive demands of royal life behind and make a new beginning in the United States were provided by her loyal butler and confidant, Paul Burrell. Burrell said that Diana had been actively thinking about relocating to California, seeing a state full of opportunities and potential. "This is our new life," she cried, joy and hope shining through in her voice. The hopes of a fresh start were brutally dashed by the events that transpired at the conclusion of that fateful summer. "Just won't it be great? Think of the lifestyle, the boys. Nobody's judgmental here in America. You don't have the class system. You don't have the establishment." With her sudden passing, Diana left behind a legacy of untapped potential and unfulfilled goals that shocked the whole world. Following her death, her sons William and Harry had to deal with the deep effect of her absence, and their sorrow was exacerbated by the fact that their mother's hopes for a better future would never materialize. William saw Diana's tragic death as a sobering reminder of the risks associated with constant media attention and harassment from photographers. He used EU legislation to shelter his wife, Kate Middleton, from the tabloid press because he was determined to save his own family from the same misery. William was keen to protect Kate from the same suffering as he had seen personally the toll that media attention had placed on his mother, as documented by royal biographer Katie Nicholl in her book, Kate, the Future Queen. William views his recollections of his time with Diana as priceless gems that provide him courage and consolation as he faces life's challenges. Time spent with her, the feeling of having her around and being loved as a family or as a son, "I think those are the most precious and special memories to me," William says with a calm respect. William remembers a special recollection he had with his mother, providing a moving window into the private moments that shaped their relationship. William's remarks ring true with the love and passion he has for Princess Diana, whose influence continues to profoundly alter his life as he thinks back on a simple but meaningful incident from his youth. Few individuals are aware of a mystery pertaining to Prince William's connection with his grandmother after the loss of Diana. Prince William had an extraordinary bond with his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, despite being a member of the British royal family growing up. Although many kids look up to their grandparents as loving, wise people, William's relationship with the Queen was influenced by his unusual royal upbringing and the significant loss he suffered when he was a little boy. Following Princess Diana's passing, Queen Elizabeth showed herself to be her grandson's rock, providing comfort and support during a period of intense turmoil and loss. In a video honoring the Queen's 90th birthday, William said, "It's been particularly important to me that I've had somebody like the Queen to look up to, having lost my mother at a young age." Diana considered the relationship between her boys to be sacrosanct, and it provided her with courage and support as she faced the difficult duties that lied ahead. According to royal scholar and Diana's biographer Andrew Morton, Diana understood the weight of isolation and solemnity that would come with William's rule as king, and she saw Harry as his loyal comrade. As Morton observed, "Diana said to me quite clearly on several occasions that she saw Harry as the wingman for William in what would be a very solitary, somber job as future king," his remarks resonating with the poignancy of Diana's hopes for her kids. She valued her sons' togetherness above all else, seeing it as a monument to the ongoing heritage of love and companionship that shaped their relationship. However, Diana's expectations for her boys' reconciliation have been dashed in the aftermath of their public split, leaving a legacy of regret and sadness. With a sorrowful tone, Morton said, "She would have been very upset at the way these two have split apart." Diana would have experienced great distress from the division between William and Harry, since it served as a clear reminder of the brittleness of family bonds and the burden of royal duties. What do you believe William's actual thoughts are on the passing of his mother? Post your thoughts in the space provided below. We really hope that this video was useful to you. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like it, and share it. We appreciate your time and we'll see you in the next films. Farewell.